As someone who's worked in the heating and air for years, I've been in countless older homes across the Twin Cities, and I can tell you there's one thing that keeps me up at night: asbestos. This stuff was everywhere in older buildings. Insulation, ductwork, pipe wrapping, and disturbing it can release dangerous fibers into the air. That's why I want to tell you about Solutions for Asbestos-Free Environments. Acronym, SAFE, S-A-F-E. And trust me, that acronym says it all, because safety is exactly what they deliver. They're certified by Minnesota Department of Health and fully compliant with EPA and OSHA standards. We at Twin City Heating, Air, and Electric use SAFE for abating asbestos during older boiler and gravity furnace replacements. Our electrical team relies on them when drilling through asbestos sidings and floors. I trust them with my customers' safety, and that says everything. Whether you're replacing that old furnace, renovating, or buying property, SAFE provides professional inspections and certified removal services. I've seen what happens when people skip the inspection and just start tearing into walls. Don't take chances. Visit asbestosservices.services to learn more and schedule your inspection today. That's asbestos.services, ASBESTOS.services, because your safety matters.
From working in his family's Chinese restaurant, to bartending, to becoming present-day owner of Twin City Heating, Air, and Electric, my father's true superpower is human connection. Now, he's on a mission to capture the most fascinating stories that make up the Minnesota community. You're listening to the Twin City Tales podcast.
Welcome back to Twin City Tales, where we highlight the stories and the people who make the Twin Cities what it is. Today's guest is someone I've known since we were kids in elementary school and high school hallways. That's the Hopkins area and Westview Elementary. We weren't running in the same circles back then, but life has a funny way of reconnecting people. And in the last decade, maybe even decade and a half, we've crossed paths again because this guy has been building something serious. Tom Sommers is a seasoned Twin Cities realtor, helping families buy and sell homes all across the metro. But here's what makes him different. He doesn't just sell homes, he sees them. Because outside of real estate, Tom is deeply wired into the music scene. We're talking live shows, backstage energy, concert photography, working alongside major productions. This guy has an artist's eye. He loves music, lives it, captures it, and that creative lens shows up in how he serves his clients. There's something powerful about blending hustle with heart, business with passion, structure with creativity. Today, we're talking real estate and connecting after all these years, the Twin Cities music scene, and how following what you love can shape your entire career. Let's jump in. Welcome to the show, Tom.
Thanks, Wymond. I feel like I just listened to my eulogy.
Well, we're still young, but
Yeah.
we're no spring chickens either.
No, we are not.
It's crazy how we connected from, because we both had Mrs. Hammond for kindergarten. And
and when I reconnected with you was at Home Depot. I was standing behind you in line. Yeah.
That's right. I forgot about that.
And I hadn't seen you in a number of years.
Yeah.
So it's like, but when you live in the cities, you keep running into some of the same people.
Well, and your industry, real estate, my industry, heating and air, right?
Same thing.
Bound to
very
figure
similar.
out. Yeah. So we were bound to figure that out eventually.
Oh yeah. and like we've talked about before, I love sending my clients to Twin Cities Heating and Air and Electric because I know you guys will always do a great job for them.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I appreciate that sentiment. I mean, that means a lot to me. But let's get back into growing up in Gold Valley. What do you remember well, you didn't grow up in Gold Valley. You grew up in that St. Louis Park.
I was in St. Louis Park, yeah.
Back then it was Highway 12 and County Road 18.
Yes.
You were on that southwest side.
Yeah.
for those who don't know where that is, it's actually the new 394 and 169. And I don't even say I shouldn't even say it's new, right?
Well, no, I mean, and it's the Kilmer Pond neighborhood, and it was a group of blue hair ladies that stopped the construction for decades. And that's why it took so long for them to expand that whole entire area, because they were fighting it. And they were very, very good at it because it went on for quite some time. So I don't think that the expansion happened until after I had moved out.
Yeah, I'm thinking that probably.
It was late 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even right around, like, God, we are dating ourselves, but right in that corner there, they had that cattle company where you would go there.
Yep.
Hang out.
Yep.
And
Shillard Park for the movie theaters.
Yes.
And then you had the Cooper Theater on Highway 100 and 394. And when you tell people that there was a four-way stop there, they don't believe me at Highway 100 and 394. But it's true, because you had the Lincoln Dell and the Cooper Theater right there. And those are now, that's the West End essentially.
And it's like the beautiful people area. Like that's
it's amazing how it's changed so much, and just even the last decade.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And, there's so much history in that area, too, because that Cooper Theater was like one of a kind. Like, they only made like 20 of those theaters because they had planned it in the 70s to be like an all 360 type of movie where you can sit and turn at every angle you'd see the movie.
Well, and then I'll never forget, they had the lava rocks, and they had sitting areas where you could get up from your seat and go over and sit in a lounge area, still watch the movie and smoke.
That's right. I forgot about that. The movies I remember seeing there was crazy. 1976, Bad News Bears, with my dad. Yep. And I remember, I think the first time I went there, and I don't remember what year it was, but my dad took us to go see Tora, Tora, Tora.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And A Bridge Too Far, they did the world premiere there. So a lot of the actors and actresses in that film were here in town for that premiere.
Oh, that's pretty wild. The other thing I remember, because we lived by there, close there, right?
Yeah.
Was when they brought in that movie Airport, or that disaster airplane. They had that Cessna airplane parked in front of it for like the longest time.
Yeah.
It was kind of cool.
Well, yeah, and I remember walking down Ford Road, and I could hop on a bus in like the 6th grade, and we could ride the bus to downtown Minneapolis to go shopping.
There was a bus on Ford Road, like a bus?
No, you walk down Ford Road, but when 394, which was Highway 12 at the time, you could literally, it would stop right there.
Yeah.
You could hop on the bus and go right downtown to Block E to go record shopping or go to Schindler's and all that sort of thing. We used to do it all the time when I was a kid, and you tell people that too, and they're like, no way. I'm like, seriously, that's how things have changed.
Yeah. Yeah, and you could actually, I remember they had stoplights. Now it's just a throughway. Like, it goes over 394. But they had stoplights where Shakey's was, I believe, right there, and Louisiana, where they had the Jolly Troll and that whole little strip mall.
Yeah, it was a series of stoplights all the way down, that whole entire Highway 12.
You know what's really cool, too, now that I think about that area, and this will bring back some nostalgia for people that are listening to the show. There was that old house that was like on the south side across 394. It wasn't a house, though. It was like an old grocery store, and then became a record store. I think Bill Fricke knew people in that little store.
Are you talking about
Vine Hill
down in the valley?
No, down in the valley was up
55. I know.
Yeah, no, but if you go south of 394 now,
okay,
and if you get down to that end of that road, Winnetka, there was that old it was like a general store for a while there. It's still sitting there. It's like Maids, Molly Maids or something.
Oh, okay.
Like that
Yeah,
now.
I guess I'm not familiar with that one.
It was an old, but I thought they had a record store there.
No, well, they had Musicland had its distribution on Highway 12, and that's where Bill's dad worked.
Okay, but that was further down,
right?
Like over by Ridgedale.
No. That was right over by Louisiana.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's where we used to, when we were kids, we would go with his dad on a Saturday and we would be just climbing on mountains of records and posters, and they were constantly shredding things. And I think, oh my God, the amount of money they threw away there in value now with some of those posters and some of that promo stuff is you couldn't even add it all up.
Why can't I think of it? It's like when you get to the end of Winnetka, it was like this old
Yeah,
store.
no, I don't doubt that. I just
I'm just trying to remember what it was.
That's not familiar to me.
Yeah. And maybe you're right, that music land, right? And then I just remember Mr. Steak there and Liberty Cart and Towns Edge Ford was there because they were one of the baseball sponsors for the baseball team in Golden Valley.
And everything's changed. Nothing's the same anymore.
No, but more things change. Sometimes it stays the same. At least that's what they say.
Yeah. Well, there's some of that because I can drive through my old neighborhood, and so could you, and it really hasn't changed all that much.
No, Care 11 kind of is still there.
Yeah,
they changed the road around there, but
right. But the houses still look the same, and
yep, yeah, no doubt. So the other thing that I remember growing up in that area was we had really, really cool things that happened up at that shopping center. Like just right at that Kuipers and that Warner's.
Are you talking about
55 and Winnetka?
Yeah, Knight's Drug.
Yeah.
And across the street was the Down in the Valley record store. It was above like a reptile store.
Yep.
And then that's their Ballpark Liquors was there. My dad always would buy his cheap beer, Pfeiffer, cases of Pfeiffer, and we used to get our hair cut over there. And then over where Down in the Valley is now was Knight's Drug.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when it was in the old spot, they used to have, and we were like probably 5th, 6th, 7th grade back then. You can go in there and see the bongs that they had.
Oh yeah, yeah. They sold all that stuff too.
That was before it was like the marijuana wasn't legal back then.
No,
but you could buy the stuff to smoke it.
Well, and most of those places had that, like Third Stone from the Sun in downtown Hopkins. A lot of those record stores were also head shops because I think they were run by a bunch of hippies.
Yeah,
But I remember taking my bicycle and riding over to 55 and Winnetka to again buy records.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's changed, but it's the same.
Yeah, it's a fun area. I guess I'm just nostalgia for that area, and boy, I mean, and that times, right? Like,
oh yeah,
and so growing up from that, I just knew you as a guy or kids back then. I can call you kid. We were kids back then.
We were kids.
You were big into like Kiss and
oh yeah,
and you and Ward Harper would have all that. God rest his soul.
Yes, yeah. Ward left us a number of years ago. I had a fantastic childhood. Bill Fricke and Ward Harper and all these different people. I was very blessed that I found people in my life that were interested in the same type of thing that I was interested in. I mean, I played sports as well, but it really took a back seat for me to the creativity and the music more than anything else. Yeah. And unfortunately, I lost touch with Ward, and he passed away before I had the chance to see him again. But I know his wife, and I've met his boys. The younger of the two looks just like him.
Oh, really?
It's almost scary how much they look alike. Ward is one of those people who is a very creative, tortured soul.
And he was actually, the one thing I remember about him was he was very funny. He had a great sense of humor.
Great sense of humor, and read everything. Like there wouldn't be a minute that he wouldn't be picking up the bottle and reading the label. And he was very, very creative. He was a great artist, and he went into the music aspect. He had a couple of bands and different things. We just kind of lost touch after high school, people do.
He did like his recreational back then, if I remember right.
I couldn't say. I don't remember that. We weren't that close by that point. Okay. They split us up in junior high school. They're like, these two cannot, under any circumstances, be in any of the same classes together.
When we were at North?
Uh-huh.
Did they do that on purpose? I don't
Oh
remember.
yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't remember them. I didn't know. I guess I just was a little more dopier. Like, dope. Okay, whatever.
Because we pushed it a lot. We would skip school. We would do a lot of the stuff. I mean, harmless things, but back then they're like, no, they cannot be. I remember seeing it and being in the counselor's office. They're saying, we're just so you know, you guys will not be in any classes together. Period. End of story. I'm like, okay, I guess I have to make some new friends.
And you were really, I just remember you being big into music back then, but growing up, going through high school, how did you end up going like, okay, I'm doing this and photography to real estate?
Well, the real estate thing just kind of happened accidentally because I didn't go to college. A lot of my peers did, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And my parents were blue collar. You know, my dad worked for Northwestern Bell, which turned into AT&T. And so he had a job that he liked and really wanted that for me. And I'm like, I can't sit behind a desk for 8 hours. So I had a lot of different careers. I tried a lot of different things. It just took me longer than some people to find a place where I fit. And so I was driving home one day and was frustrated with the job I was doing. And I thought, I wonder if I could sell houses because I've been flipping homes, fixing them up and flipping them. And I went in and sat down with the broker. Her name was Janelle, who is no longer in the business, but really nice gal. And she hired me right then and there. I went and got my license, and I've been doing it ever since. Yeah.
And it sounds like you really enjoy it. What do you like most about it?
I like helping people. I really do. It may sound odd or cliche, but I love helping people, and I'm prideful to get them into a really nice home at a great price and help them realize their American dream, as well as helping people who are selling their home and want to move on with life, sometimes in a different part of the country and sometimes just to upside or downsize depending on their needs, and getting their home sold and helping them get to where they're going. I love helping people. Yeah. That's literally what it is.
And you've helped a lot of people because you've been doing it for what,
23 years now. So wow. yeah, a lot of people. And I'm very grateful. I've had a wonderfully successful career, and I still am out there working every day. You know, it's just like you. It takes a lot to run a business, and you're either in all or you're not. That's why I always say to people, when you're thinking about hiring an agent, have a conversation. Find someone that you feel has your best interest at heart, and don't hire someone that's a part-timer, because it's a full-time occupation. It takes a lot to stay up on all of the changes, and that's just with real estate. That's not even mortgage. So that's why I have partners that I work with that I can rely on, because they do the same thing for the client with their area of expertise. Because just like with mortgages, you can't keep up with all the changes.
No.
Every 6 months, it's something new.
Yeah. And they're talking about recently, from what I've heard, more recent, they're talking about the 50-year mortgage.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
You know, I don't know. Sometimes that stuff gets thrown out because it sounds good. We've seen a huge increase in value over the last decade, especially since COVID. And I think things will have to balance out a bit. But the 50-year mortgage, I don't think will fly as often or the way they think it will. I really think it's more adjusting the interest rate, and then also goods and services becoming more affordable. Like if you can save couple $100 a month in gas, because gas prices are now at $2.50 versus $4, that gives people an option to go, okay, well, maybe we can spend a little bit more on our mortgage because we don't have the extra costs in other areas, you know. And then it's also being smart. Too many people, I think, have gotten into this idea that they have to have their first home be their forever home. And they want everything to be perfect when they move right in. And for, you know, people like us, our generation, you bought a house, you fixed it up, you did what you could, you learned, you turned around, you sold it after 3 or 4 years, you got to your second one, you did it again. And then the third one becomes that house that you're going to raise your family and live for a long time. And that's where I think things are missing a little bit. And I think that that's where like places are shows like HGTV are poison for my industry because they give buyers an unrealistic view of what reality is. You know, like where we grew up, we have a lot of one-level homes in St. Louis Park and Golden Valley. And I take a buyer in and they're like, well, why is the wall there between the kitchen and the living room? It's like, well, to hold the ceiling up. Well, why can't you just take it out? It's like, well, you can't. But see, in all fairness to them, when they're watching these shows on TV, that in 30 minutes, a crew of 100 guys comes in and completely destroys and rebuilds the house, they think that's how it is in reality, and it just isn't.
No, absolutely. And, you know, the one thing that I wish I would have learned earlier was building wealth off of buying your first home.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be your forever home. And, you know, I heard Jeff Salzburn, who was on this podcast before, said, you should never buy a house to pay it off. You should always be you should be thinking about buying the house as an investment to springboard you into more wealth.
Yeah, because but here's the problem. In theory, he's correct, but a lot of people don't have the discipline. And that's how a lot of them got into trouble when the market crashed. If you look at how bad things got in 2008, one of the biggest things was mortgage-backed securities. And they were offering you a mortgage that was interest only or partially interest. So you're not paying any of your principal off. But the idea then was, okay, if you're saving $500 a month on this mortgage, you should take that $500, put it into an investment that's going to get you 7% return on average, and then you're ahead of the game. Well, people weren't doing that. What they were doing is instead of buying a $200,000 house, saving that money and investing in their future, they were buying a $450,000 house because the interest payment was less. Then all of a sudden, those adjustable rate mortgages came due, and now all of a sudden their payments are more than they can handle, and they get foreclosed on. So in theory, he's absolutely correct, but you have to have a plan before you jump into it that way.
Discipline to do that.
Absolutely.
I still think one of the best ways that, you know, people can see, especially young people, that can secure that in a sort of way, like they don't have to like buy a $400,000 house. They can buy a $500,000 house that's a duplex and then end up renting one side of it. Now you're getting cash flow along with fixing it up, and you know it's an older home.
Yeah.
But now you're actually building the building on that principal and increasing the value of that principal over a short amount of time, right? And if I understand, real estate never really goes back in price. Maybe dips a little bit here and there, but doesn't never like goes way down. It always kind of slowly keeps climbing.
On average, since 1968, I think I'd read an article, this was a number of years ago, real estate has appreciated on average 2 to 5% every year since that time frame, with the exception, like you said, certain dips. But a lot of it is buying smart. So some people just can't handle the duplex idea, but that's a great way to get rolling, because then you also get to write off different things that you can't just as a single family home. I think that from my perspective, sometimes people are just too quick to get to the brass ring, and you end up paying for it. Whereas if you do a duplex or you springboard into other properties, start small. I've made a lot of millionaires here in the Twin Cities that have 20 or 30 rental properties now, because they were systematic, they were careful. But the other side of it is there's no easy quick fix. So if you're going to own 30 properties and you're going to be cash flowing 30, 40, 50 grand a month, you're paying for it because you have no social life. You have no free time because you are managing all of those properties. Now, you can pay people to manage them, but there goes a big piece of the profit sometimes. So what I say to people is, if you're going to buy a house and you're going to hold it, which is great, you have to understand that it's not going to cash flow thousands of dollars a month if you're not putting a huge amount down. The goal is to cash flow a couple $100 a month, save all that money for when it needs a roof, or a furnace or something like that. And then you write off all of this onto your taxes. So then when you go to sell it, you've gotten the depreciation, you've saved a lot of money. Now you can roll it into something else. And diversification is huge. People that want to buy large apartment buildings is a mistake when they first start out, because once you get over a certain number of units, it becomes a whole different thing. Whereas if you're buying, to your point, duplexes, triplexes, or something with maybe 8 units or less, it's much more manageable. Dip your toes in the pool, start small. And then what you can do is once you've created a portfolio for yourself, then you can go, okay, well, these 6 cash flow, but these 2 don't. So maybe we sell these 2 off and either take both of them and invest in something else or buy 2 other properties that will. But the more diversification you have, the easier it is to sell that unit and get your money back out of it to invest elsewhere. Some people get themselves too tied up in larger situations with 20, 30, 40 doors or more in a large complex, and then you got to find the buyer, and there's not as many buyers who can afford that.
I think if I didn't, no, I don't have a lot of money that I think about, but if I didn't have a lot of money and I'm just jumping out there and I'm young, if I had to do it all over again, I think, wouldn't it be wise to go, okay, let's look at a duplex.
Yes.
Have that person, the other half, pay my mortgage basically, or at least 3/4 of it sometimes.
That's
up to
exactly
half to
it.
3/4.
Or even for the young people that are listening to this, buy a townhome, buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom townhome and rent out one of the rooms to a friend. Then they're going to also help pay part of your mortgage. So right there, you're already ahead. So there's a lot of different ways to do it, but I love the duplex idea. I think one of the smartest people I've ever met is Bob Forsberg. You know, we went to high school with Bob.
We went to elementary school.
Yeah, I've known him as long as I've known you. Well, Bob was one of the first people I knew that got out of his house and bought a believe it or not, $65,000 house in Brooklyn Park. And he did exactly what we're talking about. He fixed it up. And then he ended up selling it and moving to his next property. And he was years ahead of all of us. We were still renting, most of us.
Yeah.
And so the earlier you can get out of the rental trap, the better. But you have to make some concessions. And maybe that first house isn't your dream home. But if it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house in a good, safe area that's close to amenities, that has a yard and all of the basics that the largest buyer pool of buyers are looking for, it's a slam dunk from an investment standpoint.
Yeah. I was very blessed. About 6 years ago, I bought a property up in Coon Rapids and I rented out. I'm not making a ton of money on it. I'm cash flowing it, but I feel like it's the best thing I've ever done because 6 years ago, I think I paid, and I overpaid for it too at that time.
You're right.
I wanted that house because originally I thought I was going to use it to store some in the detached garage. It was just it's like a 1,400 square foot house with a detached garage, like a 2-car, but it sits on 2 lots, right? And because I can split it and build 2 houses on it, but I just was going to use it for business.
Yeah.
But I ended up renting that part of the house, and I used the garage to store stuff. But the rental property actually pays for itself through the mortgage and its insurance and the taxes,
Absolutely.
as long as I can keep it filled. But I calculate that if I can keep a renter in there for a full year, I could lose that renter for a month or 2
and not suffer.
Not suffer.
And the beauty about doing something like the duplex, if you're starting out, is because you're going to live on the property, you can get in it with as little as 3.5% down.
Yeah.
For down payment, versus if it's a secondary home or it's a home that you're renting out, most banks want a minimum of 25% down. So the mistake because I get calls all the time from people saying, I want to invest in properties. I'm like, great. The first thing I say to them is, who is your financing? And how much are you putting down, or how are you getting your down payment? And I've had so many calls, or I'm just going to take cash on a credit card. It's like, it doesn't work that way. You have to save to get to that point. So to your point, getting in with a duplex where you can get in for very little down and then rent out that other half, you're practically paying the mortgage. Mm-hmm. It puts you years ahead. It can be a really amazing thing if you do it the right way. But too many people, I think, don't do the homework ahead of time, jump right in, and that's where you hear all of these horrible stories.
And you can homestead it too.
Yeah, of course you can.
And that's the beauty of it.
Because
that
you're living
whole
there.
property is the homestead, right? Like,
Yep.
like my rental property, I can't homestead it. I pay extra taxes to city of Coon Rapids because I can't homestead it because my home is in Brooklyn Park.
Right.
You know.
And that gap is it's gotten smaller over the years. There used to be a much bigger difference between homestead versus non-homestead. But to your point, you are paying extra because of it.
Yeah.
But again, you get all the write-offs, you get the depreciation. It's a wonderful thing, but people also be smart. Don't buy a house in Florida. It's too far away.
Yeah.
You've got to be close enough you can drive by just to make sure it looks like it does and it's going the way it should.
So that's funny you say that because 5 years ago, people knew like that was the craze. Like go buy a VRBO down 6 years ago, buy a VRBO down in Florida, right? And I'm about to buy this other property because I had some money to be able to do that. I just thought, and this was just where my brain goes, right? Like, I want to be able to touch it and feel it. Like, if there's a fire,
smart.
I want to be able to see it, right? Like, I don't want to fly down there to go deal with the house that caught on fire. And now there goes my money, right?
But you're smart. You want to stay close because it can be a wonderful thing. And I'm not saying that you can't hire a company to take care of a lot of these things for you, but in reality, you don't need to, because if you do things the right way. I mean, I work with a lot of investors, but I do a lot of just single family homes for buyers and sellers. But with the renters or the investors, some of the things you can do is you get the property under contract, and then 30 days before it closes, 40 days before it closes, you write into your purchase agreement that you want to be able to have an open house. Well, when you have the open house, you get everybody to show up to put in an application to rent there. Now you have 3 or 4 really solid leads, and you can have that place rented out within a week or two of you buying it. Because the thing that a lot of people make mistake-wise when they're buying to flip a house is they don't take into account not only the cost of fixing up whatever's wrong with it, but your holding costs and the time of year in which you do it. So you better be really on top of your payments, your holding costs, and all of that, because before you know it, you're not cash flowing for several months and you could end up in the hole, which is why a lot of the lenders want more than 25 or at least 25% down. They want to make sure you have enough skin in the game that you're not going to let this go bad.
And that's the investment, or somebody that thinks they're going to go in and flip or invest in a house, right?
Yeah.
And when you have, what's really the beauty sometimes is having like a renter already in there when you buy a duplex, and that helps a lot.
Totally.
And you know, I don't think as just a regular person like me that's like focusing on a business or focusing on my career, I feel like I'm not going to buy 5. I mean, if I did buy 5 duplexes or 5 rental properties, I better put a property management company in place, right? But if I'm living there, it's like the easiest way to take care of stuff.
Absolutely. And I think also too, you have to know what is that lease, because leases supersede the sale of a property. So you want to make sure that before you purchase any property, whether it be a duplex single family home that you're going to rent out that has a renter in there currently, is it month to month? If they've got a lease for another 9 months, there's nothing you can do. You can't kick them out.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It goes back to who you hire makes all the difference in the world. And the more detailed you get and the more information you get, the better off you'll be to be able to make a really good decision for yourself. Too many people, I think, just jump into it. And like an open house. If you go to an open house, remember that whoever is holding that house open is working for the seller. So right now, they already have a fiduciary responsibility to that seller. So to me, when you just walk into an open house and say, I want to buy it, and you don't have representation, that'd be like saying, okay, if you were being sued in a court of law right now, would you hire the same attorney that's representing the guy that's suing you? No, you wouldn't.
Absolutely not.
But people don't think that way because and I'm always preaching this, there is a method to the madness. And if you just take a little extra time to make the steps happen ahead of time and get prepared to purchase a home, you will put yourself in such a better position. And the first thing you do is you sit down and you find a team. A team would be the loan officer, the real estate agent, your closing company, that sort of thing. So then you're pre-qualified, you're ready to go, and then you know exactly how much your money is going to take to get to one place or another, what your down payment is, what your monthly payments are, and all of that. And also, we sit down and analyze these properties so I can say, okay, well, if you're going to gut this kitchen and you're going to spend $50,000, if you got in trouble in 6 months and you had to sell the home, I want to be able to tell you, yes, you can get your investment back because here's 3 other homes that have sold in the last 90 days that support that $50,000 remodel. So just take the time to find the right agent, find the right loan officer to help you get to where you need to be, and it'll solve all your problems.
Yeah.
Because usually when you hear those nightmare stories from people, it's because there was a lack of preparation and they were not being counseled. They were not getting the information that they should have.
Right.
You know, like a great example is, let's say I'm showing you a bunch of houses for sale. Doesn't matter what the price is. Let's say $400,000. The only way I can tell you that it's worth $400,000 before you write the offer is I will sit down and I will analyze that property. I will do an appraisal basically on it, just like I was going to list the house for sale. That way, when I come back to you, I can say, okay, this house right now at $400,000 is a great deal because here's 3 others that sold for $420,000. Or I might come back to you and say, $400,000 is a little bit on the high side. The 3 houses I found that are most similar to this were $375,000. So they're listed a little bit too high. It's going to completely change your strategy of how you move forward when you write an offer and where you start and what you're asking for.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And that's the comparisons also are included in that of the neighborhood.
Oh, totally. And I've been up against 3 or 4 other agents sometimes for a listing appointment because people want to meet with more than one. And I always say you should. And I'm the only one who takes the time to do this. I show up with all these comparables, all of this data showing them exactly why I think the home is worth this and where they should start with their pricing. And they look at me like, what? And I'm like, what? And they're like, well, we've met with 3 other agents and none of them brought any of this to us.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's part of my job is to prep. And it's not rocket science. It's I'm using the same comparables for my market analysis to list a home as the appraisers would. The only difference is the appraisers will dive a little bit deeper and they'll give you an extra $2,500 for this bathroom, or they'll give you an extra $5,000 if you have a 3 stall garage rather than a 2. But it's easy to just break it down. It's a matter of taking the time to prove it. Now, I always want to prove it to you. I want to show you physical proof. Now, you may not agree with what I'm saying, but at least you can see the steps that I took to get here.
Right. Yeah, that's how you really set yourself apart from a lot of other realtors, too.
Absolutely. I've never had one single person call me in all of my years telling me they regretted that they bought the house that they bought, or that they were unhappy. I've talked more people out of buying homes. I don't have to talk you into buying one. You'll know it when you see it.
Right.
But I can't tell you how many I begged people to walk away from this because I can see it. I'm like, you guys, I get it. I know you love the stained glass and you love all of these things, but I'm telling you, this roof is going to cost you $100,000. And once you close, where's that money coming from? Or something else.
No, that's awesome. No, I can't imagine anybody ever calling up and saying, you gave me too much information.
Exactly. Because
I'm not really happy with all that information you gave me.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah.
It really is. And I think the more you know, the better informed you are, the better decision you can make for you and your family. Yeah. And that's, to me, that's what matters more than anything else. And then also working your way through multiple offers. There's ways to win. I just doing a video series right now on things you should know before you buy a home. And one of the ones I did just the other day was never, ever, ever give up your right to have a home inspection. It's one of the biggest contingencies you have. And if you're in a multiple offer situation, it's possible you could lose the house because you want a home inspection. But you can also write language in that will protect you, that will make the seller feel at ease. Because the seller isn't trying to hide anything from you. They're not trying to be, I don't know what term I'm looking for.
They're not trying to be shady. They're not trying to
I think
fleece you out of what you're going to buy.
I believe in the good in people, and the most times what it is the seller is worried in a multiple offer situation that if they sell it to you and you're the highest bidder, that now you're going to have a home inspection, you're going to come back and you're going to beat them up. Now you want a new furnace, you want a new this, you want a new that, and all of a sudden it's 20 grand worth of stuff. And it doesn't necessarily have to be that way. You just need to let them know that, no, we're just making sure that the furnace does work, that the roof is good, that there is no foundation issues that we can't see, just looking at it the first time. And if you can put the seller at ease, I've always said to my clients too, when I'm selling their homes, we want a home inspection. Because then if there is an issue after the fact that you knew nothing about, you can say, well, you guys, you had a full inspection and it didn't come up then either. So what do you want us to do about it? So it's good for everybody.
Yeah, and we can have different philosophies. And I think there's a lot of good home inspectors out there, but I also think there's a lot of not so good home inspectors out there.
Absolutely. Just like there's good technicians that do what you do and bad ones. And so I never want to box my people in, because sometimes they have an inspector. A lot of times they don't. I have 5 that I work with that I trust, that have done nothing but great things for my clients. So I send that list and say, okay, time for you to start making some phone calls and interview them. And here's a list of questions to ask. And get comfortable, because it's a personality thing. Lots of times I feel more comfortable with this person versus that person, because they don't have to be licensed. But there's a lot of really good inspectors out there that take it just as seriously as you and I do with our businesses.
So I tend to do this. I've not hired a home inspector for my houses, only because I will go and look at the heating and the electrical, right? Because that's my industry, right? I'll bring in a friend of mine who I've worked with in construction to look at my foundation, and I'll bring in a roofer guy. Do you feel like that is, like, sometimes if you have the resources to do that, would that be a better way to have the home inspected over a home inspector? I'm not saying home inspectors are bad. I just feel like home inspectors have to know a lot, but not as detailed as if you're getting these guys who that's what they specialize in.
Well, and also that's a great point. And I don't disagree with what you're doing, but you have the resources. Most people don't. So you also, as buying a house, when you have your inspection period, you could have all those people come out. I've had people bring contractors out. I've had people bring roofers out. You can bring specific people to look at certain things or aspects of the home. But the thing that I think the value where the home inspector is there's other stuff that gets missed. And I'll give you a perfect example. There was a house that we were looking at buying, and my home inspector is like, I would never buy this house. And I'm like, why? It was a 3-level split, and it was a lookout windows. And he said, well, look at the backyard. I said, okay. He's like, well, they put too much fill here. And if you look at the slope, I think in 3 to 4 years, this house is going to start to have water problems. I would have built it 2 courses higher. Now, whether he's right or not, I don't know. But I would have never noticed that. And the guy standing on the roof wouldn't have. I mean, the sellers were really upset. But that's what your contingency is for. You could literally drive down the street one day and go, you know what? I just don't like the neighbor's house color, or I don't like the way the water runs in the house, or I've decided I don't like the school district, or it's not close enough to the grocery store. You can back out for any reason during that inspection period. Right. So I think when you have people that like the people I work with that are literally doing hundreds and hundreds of homes and home inspections per year, they get pretty darn good at it. So if your comfort level is to go that route, I certainly wouldn't talk you out of it. But most people don't have those resources. Yeah,
and that's what I always was kind of asking. Like, if you have the resources to do it, it's probably a good way to do it. Like, you can get a foundation guy or a guy who does landscaping that can see that pretty darn quick.
Absolutely. And so, but here's the rub. So most home inspections are about a 7-day window from the date everything is signed. So within 7 days, we have to have everything signed and done with that contingency. Can you line up the foundation guy, the roofer, the HVAC person? And, look at you guys, how busy you guys get in certain times of the year. Do you really have a lot of your techs that can just go out for nothing and take a look at, you know what I mean? So that's where the value is with that.
A home inspector.
Right.
Gotcha.
And some people want to have nothing more than their father look at it. Well, okay, if that's what you want to do, great. I don't think that's a good idea, but to each his own.
Yeah.
But it's got to work for you.
Yeah. And I there's a few good ones out there. I'm really good friends with Ruben Salzman of Structure Tech, and they do a really
Structure
good job
Tech is
out there.
they've got a great. See, there's
system.
there's another company where they train their people the right way.
Yeah.
But I would argue that point with there's a few companies in town that do radon mitigation that I would never hire.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of them that I would.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of, and again, it's business, getting those relationships.
Absolutely.
You know, because I had mentioned to you too, for all of you guys too that are listening or watching this, is that Wymond's built an amazing business. And all I say to my people is, here's someone who's honest, that's not going to fleece you, that will get the job done right. And that's literally as far as it goes for me. I just want to have a network of people that are professional that I can refer. Now, whether they use you or not is up to them. Right. Just like when you refer someone to me, but at least you can walk away knowing that, hey, I referred my person to somebody that I trust.
Yeah. I do that a lot. Like, here's someone I know, like, and trust. And then that's where I leave it at.
That's the key to the whole thing.
Yep.
You know,
absolutely. That's the biggest thing for networking and things like that. Do you do a lot of networking in yours?
Not as much as I used to. What's changed for me since COVID is actually even before COVID is a lot of the people that I knew that would do mason work, concrete, even not even so much general contractors, but general contractors too, and handymen have quit. They've left the business. They've retired. They have changed businesses because it was getting too hard on them, you know, because it's a lot of physical labor to pour a driveway. And for a long time, we didn't have a lot of people coming into the trades. Now, thank God that's changing. And more folks are getting into electric and plumbing and all that because we desperately need that. And so it was getting harder and harder for me to refer people to someone I trust because so many of them were leaving. So you try to find some, and I'm stronger in some areas than others.
And I think the biggest thing about networking really is like the is the ability to put yourself out there and create like a referral network. So these people will refer back to you. I think that's kind of changing as we go. I still think there's nothing beats face-to-face networking.
Right.
But I think, which I was really, we've reconnected for a while, but we reconnect off and on. Like we can go for a few months without talking to each other. Last time we were, which really intrigued me was you're really getting the social media piece.
Yeah. I think that is the cornerstone of marketing, you know, and with real estate, just like with what you do, people really aren't interested in what I have to say with houses unless they are buying or selling, or they want to know value, which I'm always happy to do. If anybody out there wants a free market analysis on your home just to know what it's worth, I'm happy to do that at no obligation. I always have time to do that. But I have to do other things with my social media to keep people interested. And so how I've gotten this following, I've got almost 60,000, I think, at this point on my different platforms, is I provide content that is unique and different, that's not just always real estate oriented. And so people are entertained by it. And then they will also then watch the videos that are real estate, and they will share them with other people. And I've done really well getting the word out there for listings that I have because they get shared due to all of the other things that I'm constantly creating and sharing on socials.
Yeah. And that's part of like, not just, and I guess we might have different terms of networking, or I feel networking is part of marketing, right? Like that's part of who you connect with.
Yeah, but I guess when you say networking, my first thought always is the BMI groups, Chamber of Commerce, Rotary, all that sort of thing.
Right.
That's typically what I don't do.
Yeah.
Networking, though, in other areas through social media, absolutely. But that's more networking to people who know me, like me, trust me, and hopefully would refer me.
Yeah.
But I'm also looking always for new business as well, because you always want to expand your base and help whoever it is that wants your help, essentially. But the social media has become a really big piece of it. And we've talked about 2026 is going to be the year of AI. It's going to change the game for a lot of people. And I work in an industry that they're always throwing stuff at you. One of the things that they were pushing really hard that just disappeared was QR codes. I never really jumped on board with it because it didn't make sense to me. Not that it was a bad idea. And that just kind of fell by the wayside. Well, now they want you producing videos. Well, you'd be amazed at how many real estate agents don't want to get in front of the camera and do any videos at all. Well, it's like, well, how am I going to get my message out there, and how are you going to get to know me if I don't do some of these things? And I don't think you have to, jump up and down in the front yard and like there's a gal, I think in California, who's got a big following, but I think she's doing it the wrong way, because she's basically insulting the owner of the house that she's listing, or insulting the potential buyers. Like, look at this beautiful, huge dining room. You could have parties here if you had friends. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I think people are tuning more in for the amusement than they are and for the house. And then the house is becoming secondary. And I think too many agents put themselves in the position where they're in front of the camera when they're showing the house. I'm never doing that. I sit in front of the camera when I'm making videos about buying and selling. But when I'm doing a premiere for my listing, I'm making short 1-minute clips about the house, the bedrooms, the bathroom, the backyard, the neighborhood, the kitchen, whatever it is, and feeding those to you because you can get it in 60-second bites and go, oh, I really like that kitchen. Now I want to know more. But I'm not in front of it saying, oh, look at this as a kitchen. Well, anyone knows it's a kitchen. You want to talk about, does it have soft closed doors and drawers? Does it have storage? Is there a pantry? Things that you can't normally see in a photo. And I think that that's connecting with buyers more than the hype of things.
I love that. And then on top of that, your social media posts that you've been doing, the stuff that you've been doing, like what's on your turntable, right?
Oh, yeah.
Now it brings out your personality in you, and that's what people trust and like and know, right? Like
that's what I'm hoping. Well, and even if you're not a music person, my friend Kyle Hansen, who is also from Hopkins, he was 3 years behind us. He grew up right over by Ward and in that area in Golden Valley. Kyle and he loves records, and he owned Discland. Kyle is a professional photographer, wedding photographer. He does other stuff as well. Kyle and I do this series on Record Store Day where we hit like 10 different record stores. And we go in and we show people what that store is like. We talk about why we like the store. We talk about what it specializes in. And we'll get 200,000 views inside of a day. Mm. People watching us all over the country that don't even record shop, but they find it so interesting that we're out doing these things. So we're always trying to do that type of stuff, which is what led into the whole music and photography thing. Is a number of years ago, I was having a lot of problems with professional photographers taking pictures of my listings. And it wasn't that they weren't great at what they do, but they're busy like all of us. And if I had them take a bunch of pictures and then my client looked at it and said, well, I like these 15, but I don't like these 4, it took forever to get them back to reshoot those 4. And I thought, well, how hard could this be? Well, it was an absolute nightmare to learn how to do this because every aspect of photography is different. And so it took me quite some time, but I've got it down now. And so I do it for myself because then I can make those changes. So if I show the photos to my client, they're like, I really would prefer you do it from this angle or do something different. Great. I can come out there today. Boom, we're done. Fix it. And it's up. Because you have to be very timely. And so I started a music podcast with a friend of mine. And the reason I started the music podcast is because I wanted to learn how to do podcasts because I thought it would help me with real estate, which it did and does. But this was back when podcasts were a new thing. And it's turned into this monster, basically. It's very, very popular, well beyond anything I could have ever envisioned. And that led me into the music photography because I was doing both. And the next thing you know, I'm out on tour with these rock bands and shooting their live shows, or I'm shooting, studio for their record albums, things like that. And it just kind of all took off. And a lot of the musicians listen to our podcast, and that's how I've gotten to know people. So I've been in the pit shooting a show, and I'll have someone come up to me and pull their sleeve down and show a tattoo and then look at me and go, and I'm like, and then I talk to him after the show, like, oh, dude, we listen every week.
That's awesome.
It's crazy.
I know you're well connected in that because I think Hairball is one of the bands that you're very well connected with.
Yeah, I grew up with Michael Happy, the guitar player. We've known each other since we were 16. He was in a band with Brandon.
Oh, Brandon
Humphreys.
Humphrey, yeah.
Yeah, so that's how it started. Yeah. And so now I'm out shooting photos for Motley Crue and Kiss and Def Leppard and all these bands, country artists as well, just because of the connection you get to know people. It's crazy. And there's your social media, because people love famous people. And I show them what it's like because I am the head photographer at several music festivals. I've pulled that back a bit because it's very time consuming, but taking people backstage, showing them what it's like to be on stage in front of 20,000 people and showing them the inner workings and how the layers get put together on a huge stage of these 5 bands that will be playing that day, and how the guys that are working on stage factor all this in, and where are the drum kits, and they're on a riser with rollers and they move them in and move them out. And so I always try to give you an aspect of these things that most people don't ever get to see.
That's pretty stellar. And I knew that you were, I think I recently contacted you when I started the podcast.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, can you get me a connection with Chris Hockey? Because I wanted to get the approval for his song. That's the music that we've been using for our intro and our outro on our podcast. It's been fantastic. Now I need you to help me connect with him so I can see if I can get him on the podcast. So.
Yeah, it can't be too hard. Yeah, Chris is a really good guy. He's very busy. I don't know him very well, but he's always been super, super nice to me. And that's what it is. It's you make these connections as you go. And some of these people have actually, I would consider now my friends. Yeah. Actual, like, we talk on a regular basis. Yeah. But it's all coming up with new, inventive, creative things to do. Rival 5, which is a wonderful local band. For any of you that love 80s music, especially pop synth music hits on the radio, these guys do it better than anybody.
Rival 5.
Rival 5, okay. Yes. And
I'm a big 80s guy.
Okay, so
love the 80s.
You'd know all of it. You'd know every single song they do. Seriously, it's like their tagline is something along the lines of, we play all the songs you love that you forgot, or something like that.
Gotcha.
So Tim, we're like, we got to do something fun. And Tim and I kid back and forth a lot. And we had a disagreement, and I said something to him once, and he was like, really, that's all you got? And I'm like, no, there's more. So I started a fake fan club for him online, had over 650 people sign up on this. We were going to 1,000, and then we were just going to start creeping it into his feed so he'd just find it accidentally. But Happy from Hairball screwed everything up and told him about it. And so we get all these people on, right? And so then that morphed into who the F is Tim Coletti. So I'll sit down with Sebastian Bach and we'll do these bits. Yeah. And I'll be like, so is Tim your favorite guitar player? And he'd be like, who's that? And so I have all these musicians saying, who the hell's Tim Coletti? And there's millions of views. And that now morphed into a pick thing where I'm of the belief that nobody wants his guitar picks. So I'll make videos of people like dancing to the music and all that. And he'll throw a guitar pick out, and 5 minutes later, it's still laying on the floor. And I'd be like, there you go. So now we're doing a special pick giveaway. And it's just gained so much momentum. And those are the kind of fun, quirky things that I want to do. I don't want to talk politics. I don't want to talk religion. And I don't want to do anything that's going to make anybody feel bad about themselves. So it's always going to be fun, stupid things like that, or the record store thing with Kyle, or the, what's on your turntable, and just try to keep making creative things that will keep people engaged so they think of me when they're buying or selling, and it's working.
Love that. I love that. And with that, let's take it to a break.
Okay.
All right. We'll be back. Anoka Meals on Wheels, a nonprofit organization that I proudly support, delivers more than just nutritious meals to seniors in our community. They deliver connection, care, and peace of mind. Their volunteers don't just drop off food, they check in, share a smile, and ensure our neighbors know they're not forgotten. I know because I am one of those volunteer drivers. Help us keep serving those who need it most. Visit mowanoka.org to volunteer, donate, or learn more about Anoka Meals on Wheels, nourishing bodies and spirits one meal at a time. Tired of lugging heavy bags of water softener salt from the store? Twin Sea Heating, Air, and Electric now delivers premium water softener salt right to your home in returnable, reusable 20-pound containers to go green and light it up to save you from injury. Serving the north suburbs, we're your neighbors who know how hard our water is. No more running out of salt and dealing with spotty dishes and stiff laundry. Quality salt, reliable delivery, local service you can trust. Because at Twin Sea Heating, Air, and Electric, we don't just keep your home comfortable, we keep your water soft and your life easy. Twin Sea Heating, Air, and Electric, now with water softener salt delivery. Call today or visit us online. If you're enjoying this show, we'd really appreciate it if you could take that second to smash that like buttons, as the young kids would say, and subscribe. It really helps us reach more people and listeners. And if you're really feeling extra generous, leaving us a rating and a review would mean the world to us. It only takes a minute, but it makes a huge difference in helping other people discover our show and finding great people in our community and what they're doing. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook at Twin Sea Tales Podcast for behind-the-scenes content and episode updates and more. And now we are back with the amazing Tom Sommers, who knows a lot of people in the music industry. I love the discussions we've had off the podcast about the people you know.
Yep.
And it's fantastic. And one of the things that...
well, before you start, though, I want to jump in and say one thing. To all of you that are listening, please support this. This is a great venture because Wymond is doing it for the right reason. He wants to connect people in our community with businesses and just people that live here. Spend your time watching and listening to these types of podcasts and try and stay off of the news and stay away from the political stuff. Not only will you learn something new, but you'll be much happier in the process.
Wow, thank you, man. That hit right here.
Because I believe in you. I believe in what you're doing. Because it's like, I want to do this too, but we've talked about this. Yeah. I've got too many irons in the fire, and this is a really important thing because community is everything. Without community, we have nothing.
Would we have ever thought that this would happen back when we're laying in like Mrs. Hammond's kindergarten class on our little blankets during nap time?
I was just trying to figure out what I'm going to do for a snack after school. No,
exactly.
God works in really incredible ways, and you find your path for your life through a lot of different experiences.
Yeah, oh, for sure. I'm going to start off with this picture because I think this is so freaking cool.
Okay.
And tell me a little bit about how you got that picture and when was that?
That was during the end of the road tour. And the reason I sent that one to you is because we've been talking about this. And it's funny, I've always been known as the KISS guy ever since we were kids. But it's like the thing that people don't understand about this is that if anyone is going to try and tell me that Bruce Springsteen doesn't have a shtick, you're fooling yourself. The T-shirt, the jeans, the boss, the working man's hero, that's as much of a stick as any of the stuff that you're looking at in this photo. Now, I love Bruce Springsteen, don't get me wrong, but the point is, that's what this is all about. And so there's a lot of people, who are into Star Wars, and they were into all these other things when we were kids. All have validity, but the thing that this band has that a lot of the other bands don't have, in my estimation, is they have this intense, loyal following of some of the most wonderful, loving, caring, gifted people I've ever met in my life. And so when you get together for some of these things that they do, like I was just out in Vegas in November, we were asked to go out with our podcast. It's like a family reunion. And I was raised in a very difficult family. I had a very hard upbringing. I had a lot of issues, and not worth getting into today, but the music was my solace. And this was something that was bigger than me. And I would offer you the idea that this type of thing, or being a fan of this, is no different than being a fan of the Vikings or the Timberwolves, or, the Gophers, or whatever college you went to. You're investing something into something that's bigger than you. And you get so much payback out of it because of your involvement in it, that it has lasted a lifetime.
So I kind of made the mistake of before showing you, when I showed you this picture, I got to describe it to the people who are listening to the show.
Fair enough.
It's actually Tom standing in front of the whole Kiss band on one of their last tours, I believe. And the late Ace Frehley is even in this shot.
No. This is Tommy and Eric. Okay. Ace and Peter were back in the 90s for a reunion. For the few of you that are Kiss fans maybe watching or listening, this is Tommy and Eric, who are unbelievable musicians. They just took on the roles of the characters of the spaceman and the cat. And that's the other bone of contention, because there's a fan base where some people love this, as I've loved every era of the band, in the same manner in which I'm a Vikings fan till the day I die. I love Fran Tarkenton, but he can't play anymore. So I'm still going to support J.J. McCarthy or whoever else that comes in. It's the same thing. Or if you love Batman, how many different actors have played the role of Batman? It's the same thing. If the music is there and it brings back those childhood memories, plus this is a time travel. They look exactly like they did in the 70s. Which is insane.
You make a good point, because that's why sometimes that's where the music brings you back to a certain time, right?
It's time travel.
It's time travel. And like one of the most amazing groups that replaced their singer, I feel like, that did a really good job of it because they found the right voice, was Journey.
Totally.
Steve Perry, when he moved on, and they brought that little...
Arnell.
He was amazing.
He is the nicest guy.
Really? I don't know.
Seriously, I'm like, they're playing a concert, and my friend Dr. Mark and I are standing on the side of the stage watching. We're by Jonathan Cain, and there's this long guitar solo, and Arnell just comes over and he's like, "Hey man, look at these new shoes I just got." And blah, 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 blah. So he's like carrying on a conversation with us, and we're like, "Arnell, there's 50,000. We're at Target Field, And so that's what it is that for whatever reason, this is the band that brings me the most joy. But it's no different than if you guys are driving in your car and you're listening to the 80s, for older people, listening to the 80s station, and all of a sudden a Sammy Hagar song comes on, or a Prince song comes on, and you think about that girl you dated in high school, or the friend you had when you guys went to see Prince at First Avenue, or whatever it was you did. It's the closest to time travel you're ever going to get.
Absolutely. That's what I love about the music. And let's go to this picture.
Okay, this is my family.
And it's all your a family of, when was this taken?
This was a couple of years ago. It was just the first one I could find. So it's myself, obviously, and my wife, Cheryl, and then my son, Adrian, in the back, who is now a pilot at SkyWest, which is awesome. And then his lovely girlfriend, Hannah, and the blonde in the front is Josie. And Josie has the singing bug. And so she has a group called the Jake and Josie Show. So if you guys are ever looking for a weekend where you want to go to a craft beer place and hear some wonderful music, they cover all genres, Adele, all the way back to rock, to everything. The Jake and Josie Show are wonderful, and she's in 2 other bands as well in the Twin Cities. So just go to Jake and Josie on Facebook and you can see all the stuff that she's doing. We're just super proud.
Yeah, and we have a little picture.
There's the Jake and Josie.
on
And this all started, a friend of mine, a coworker, Patty, was over at my house one evening with a few other real estate agents after we had an awards ceremony. We were having a couple of cocktails, and Patty has a degree in music. She sat down to the piano at our bar and started playing. Josie was upstairs. She came downstairs and she started singing with Patty. And Patty's like, oh my God. And Patty was so inspired by it that they started a band. So now Jake, they met at an open mic. So if any of you are musicians that would love to get involved and play with people and play live and get out and be supported, even though you're scared to death to get in front of an audience, go to a Tuesday night open mic. They have them at these different breweries. Babes in downtown Lakeville has it on Tuesday nights. They have stuff on Wednesday nights in Excelsior at a couple of the different places there. It's a really great way to get with other musicians, get involved, and get up there and play a song for people.
Nice. All right, this is going to be one that you haven't seen in a while. We can go to this one. Wildcats, Westview Wildcats football rules.
Well, and so Bill Fricke's on the right of me, and Bill is my oldest friend. He's wonderful. He and I grew up together. We were 3 days apart, literally lived next door. To the left of me is Lonnie Burns, who I just heard today passed away. And then Bobby Owens next to him. And Bobby was the kid who ate dirt and paste, and he's probably the one that you're arguing with when you're online fighting with someone about politics.
Absolutely.
You're fighting with Bobby.
Absolutely.
Okay. So keep that in mind.
It's kind of funny because for the 2 years we were like 0-14, right? And Johnny Provo was our star quarterback.
Yeah. It was all John Provo's fault that we lost all those games. Kept changing the plays.
That was a fantastic. So this one, I love this one.
Yeah.
This reminded me of that kid, the milk commercials when we were like in the 70s.
Oh, totally.
It's you from like, I believe, third grade, Mrs. Nash.
And it's so funny because Holly Fagel, to the left of me, I still talk to on a regular basis. I grew up with her in my neighborhood. And then to the right of me is Denise Olsenak, but I haven't seen her in forever.
If I remember right, when we were in sixth grade, she was like the fastest girl ever. Like you could not outrun her.
Yes.
She was fast.
Very nice. But I haven't seen her in forever. And then above her is DJ Propodnik. DJ was he is a huge Rolling Stones fan.
I heard he went in the military and he's like just buff right after high school.
Could very well be. I haven't seen him in forever.
I haven't either since high school.
And then Lori Swanson Yerbick, who is right above me. I don't talk to her very often, but we're Facebook friends, and she's friends with all, Linda Beidland and all of them.
So funny thing, Lori Swanson's daughter swam with my daughter at Osseo High School. So that's how I got to talk to her. That's a small world.
And then I don't know who the other person is. Is that Salmon?
I think
Salmon?
It might be.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't seen him since high school. But boy, that brings it back. Good Lord.
Let me ask you this, Tom. If you can go back and run into that young Tom Sommers again from third grade and give him one piece of advice, what would it be?
Spend more time thinking about what you'd like to do for a living as an adult. I love selling houses. I love doing the photography because that's my passion. It's fun. But the thing I think kids today have going for them that we didn't is with YouTube and all of the online social media. You can literally look at a career and do a deep dive on it, find out the good, the bad, the ugly, and go, maybe this is a fit, or I had no idea they had to do that, so that's not going to work for me. I really wish I would have spent more time trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I was an adult.
Finding your passion.
Yeah, because the music thing was always there, but the photography thing came later in life, and as did the real estate thing. But I also think you have to get to a certain age before you can be an effective real estate agent. You have to live through certain things that you can't know or do when you're in your 20s. And my father, he worked for Northwestern Bell, and he had a great job, and they treated him well. It turned into AT&T. but it wasn't the right path for me. Just like with your dad, he owns the restaurant. Just because you can cook doesn't necessarily mean that that's,
You know what my dad told me I should do? You should go learn how to fix TVs because that's where the money's at. This is like the 80s, right?
And he wasn't wrong.
He wasn't wrong in the 80s.
But that didn't last long.
No.
Yeah.
No, but, and I don't think our parents ever tell us stuff to like screw us up, right? I don't think they ever go, watch me screw them up. I'm going to tell them to go fix TVs and 30 years later it's a throwaway item. I think he truly felt like, oh, that's like a good industry to be in, right?
But for 20 plus years, he was right because VCRs and camcorders, TVs, all that stuff, definitely. Yeah, that was a big deal. You can't foresee what's going to happen down the road. I mean, can you imagine, we're living in the age of the Jetsons for all of you older people. We're talking to people now face to face on FaceTime.
On our watch.
Online.
Yeah.
And
we can see people 50,000 miles away.
Right. And microwave dinners and all these things. It's like, I had no concept. And now the flying cars are actually becoming a reality. They're just large drones. Some of the videos I've been watching are just mind-blowing to me.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So that's, I guess, crazy. What I would say.
No, that's a fantastic advice. I think you're right. There's so much technology out there that we have the access to all that stuff, right? So,
and we just didn't at the time.
No.
You almost had to know somebody that was in a career that looked interesting to you to be able to pursue that.
Yeah, absolutely. So another closing question that I love asking is, anybody that you could hear or listen to on this podcast, who would that be and why?
I think you should call Kyle Hansen, my friend.
Kyle Hansen.
I
think I've seen him. You do the bits with him.
Yeah, he does bits with me. Kyle is a ridiculously gifted photographer. He is the person who got me started in photography. It wasn't just because we were friends, but he was so generous in his time and care to help me. And he's become a really good friend. And we've spent a lot of time traveling and doing things together because he loves the music as much as we do. And he's one of those people that I can just be completely stupid with. When we go out of town, we laugh the whole time we're gone, and we do fun things. We've got other ideas of things we're going to do coming up. And he's very gifted, and I want people to know his talent because it's like real estate. Spend the time and invest your time into picking the right person to help you with these tasks. If you're going to get married, don't hire Uncle Bob. I can't tell you how many, no, seriously, I can't, and he can tell you himself, but I can't tell you how many times he's saved the day where he's got a bride calling him up 4 days before the wedding, and her sister or cousin or uncle or whomever is just like, well, I guess I can't do it. And he came in and took the photos and everything worked out perfectly. You get what you pay for. Kyle needs to be known.
That's cool. And he grew up in this area. And
you could have the same conversations with him because he literally grew up right by Ward.
Right. And I was just like almost that in-between guy, right? Right by Care 11. I grew up there.
Well, because everyone had a bully.
Yeah.
Okay. So Kyle, how we bonded over music at record shows, but he was telling me the story about his bully was Marky Trockman.
I never heard of it.
Because he was younger than us.
Okay.
All right. And I started laughing at him. And he's like, what? He said, that sucked. The kid was beating me up and all, whatever it was. And I said, I'll never forget. And I'll tell you this story. We were playing football in our front yards. It was me and my neighbor, Rick Carpenter, and Bill Fricke and a bunch of other people. And Marky Truckman was with someone else on the other side of the neighborhood driving around and basically saying crap to us as he would ride by, trying to interrupt us and give us a hard time. And I'll never forget, it was a Nerf ball. Rick threw it at his bicycle. It was a little BMX bike. The ball went perfectly between the front wheel and the frame. Marky went over the top, face first, right onto the pavement. And I don't know I can't remember if it knocked a couple teeth out or whatever, but he was bleeding. It was great. And I told Kyle that story. And the gift he got from that is something that it was just, really? Yeah, like, fine. Okay, someone
Karma.
else. Yes, exactly. So
that is amazing. That's pretty funny. That's wild. Well, this is the part of the show where I show my gratitude and appreciation. So I got a couple things for you.
Okay.
Nothing major. The first one is always, because you are on the show, I always love to give a little trophy out.
Nice.
Not quite like the Westview Elementary trophy we got for participating in football.
This means more. Thank you.
And you can never leave here without
Oh.
a bucket of fortune cookies.
I love these. I ate them all on my ride home that day. You gave me I ate them all. Yeah. Thank you.
And you know what's really special about our connection, because I truly love the music. I love what you're doing with what's on your turntable. So the first one I'm going to give you is what's on your turntable. Pablo Cruz.
Yes. What you gonna do when she says goodbye?
Exactly. But my favorite song on there is Find Your Place in the Sun.
And I think I know that one,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I will listen to it. And you know what I'm going to do as a salute to you? I'm going to do a What's on Your Turntable this week about this.
Oh, nice.
But I want to
Awesome.
listen to it first.
Okay.
So awesome.
Because I have to admit, it was the first concert I ever got to go to. It was Steve Miller Band, the Eagles, and Pablo Cruz at the Met Stadium.
I remember
in
that.
1977.
Uh-huh.
And my sister and her friends, I got to tag along.
And I tagged along with my brother.
Yeah.
My first concert was the Brady Bunch at the State Fair.
Shut the front door. Did they go, gotta keep on?
Oh, yeah. And here's a funny little story about that. So I'm a friend of mine, John Five.
Okay.
He's a guitar player for Motley Crue.
Wait, John Five?
Yeah, John
Is that
Five.
his real name? Because
No.
wasn't Johnny Five the guy on Wall-E, that Disney
I don't know. I've never seen that movie, so I
Dan,
couldn't say.
was it Johnny Five? No, on Wall-E? I don't know.
So,
I just thought that
so John Five is the Motley Crue's guitar
Okay.
player. He's amazing, unbelievable. And he was Marilyn Manson's guitar player, and he played with Rob Zombie. Anyways, so I'm telling John this story, and he's like, bull, And so what does he do? He freaking calls up Cindy Brady right then and there. And he's like, I'm sitting here, and I know Cindy as well. I've met her before. She's very, very nice. That's not her real name, Cindy, but he's like, I'm sitting here with Tommy, and he's telling me he saw you at da-da-da-da-da. And she's like, yep, that was one of the last shows of the tour. I'm like, thank you very much. Yeah, John's like, no freaking way, dude.
This is really sad. I can't remember a lot of stuff, and the useless stuff that I can remember is like just useless. But why is this on my desktop? I have no clue in my brain. Susan Olsen.
Yep, Susan Olsen. Yep. There you go. Yes. And so he freaking calls her up on the phone because he thinks I'm lying to him. I'm like, who makes up a story like that?
Oh my gosh, I can't believe I even pulled that up. It's you're reading the credits, right?
Yeah.
And you're reading when you're like a kid.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden
totally.
it just hit me like, I think that's Susan Olsen.
Yeah, totally. That's exactly what it was.
And
Yeah.
it's just useless information that I have in my head.
Filled with it.
I can't remember when I went to the bathroom last sometimes, but I can remember that stuff. What the heck? Right?
Because that stuff sticks with you. But they say that too with the onset of Alzheimer's. That
Well, thank
people
you.
no. But like my mom couldn't tell you what she had for lunch, but she could tell you about the Gibbon Ballroom
Yeah.
and describe it down to the carpet
Yeah.
from 50 years earlier.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So yeah,
how our
I'm
brain
filled
works.
with worthless, useless trivia of music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other one is, I don't know if you were, but this brings me back to the 80s when we talk about time travel.
Oh yeah.
And that was Steve Winwood.
Yes.
Arc of a Diver. One of my favorite songs was While You Have the Chance, Take It.
Yes, I
While
know
You
that
Take
one.
the
Is that the Arc of Diver?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's in that.
I didn't know
album.
that was a name, but no, he was the lead
No,
singer.
the name of that song was See a Chance You Take It.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, because I'm not familiar, but I'll give this one a listen as well. He was the lead singer in Traffic.
Yes, with Rod Stewart, right?
No.
No, Rod Stewart was in Traffic. Who else was in Traffic?
I don't know who was in
I
Traffic.
thought there was a couple others that were in Traffic.
I'm sure there were. That was my brother's era, so I picked up Led Zeppelin and Bob Dylan and Jethro Tull. I got a lot from my brother and actually my older sisters, the Beatles and things like that. But some of that like early 70s prog rock stuff, like maybe Traffic isn't prog rock, that one would kind of slip through the cracks because I was listening to the Monkees and Elton Elton John and the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and all of that. And then Kiss comes along and it's like, okay, well, that's pretty much it. For the next 3 years, that's all we listened to. Ward Harper, all of us, it's all we listened to until Queen and Cheap Trick and, some of the other Aerosmith and some of the other bands that broke through in the 70s.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to dedicate this, always kind of, if I can dedicate a show to somebody, we should do it to for Ward Harper.
Yeah.
I got his picture, so we'll put that up at the end of the show, and we'll even put that on.
That would be great.
I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I do remember him, and he was quite very humorous. I loved his humor when we were growing up as kids. So.
Yes. Oh yeah. He was a one of a kind.
Absolutely. And with that, Tom, I truly can't thank you enough for being on the show.
Thank you for inviting me. It's an honor. It was all mine.
Yeah. No, it's mine. All the people what a great connection to have with all the music scene.
I've been blessed. I really have been blessed. I've been very lucky and very blessed.
Great. If you want to learn more about Tom, you can visit www.tomsommers. That's SOM, not a SUM. That's again, www.tomsommersrealestate.com. Again, Tom Sommers realestate.com with an O, not a U in his summer. Or visit us at Twin City Tales Facebook page, and we'll even post it on there. And as we roll out of here, I want to thank Chris Hockey for the use of his song Thanks, with no pun intended. And until next time, this podcast is powered by Twin City Heating and Air Electric. And until next show, you can't go wrong with Wymond Wong on Twin City Tales Podcast.
No, you can't.
This song goes out to my family, to all the ones who died before me. I'm sure the family life made you do things you never wanted to, so I wrote this